everyone, and welcome to Effective Technical Writing. This workshop is designed to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and practice to better execute technical writing in your academic and professional careers. This workshop is brought to you by the Writing, Reading, and Speech Assistance area located in the Learning Commons of College of DuPage. We are located in SRC 2002. Below is our phone number to call to make an appointment to meet with your speech writing or reading needs, and you can access us also and all of our information on the Learning Commons website under Writing. So before we get started, let's break down what technical writing is. What is technical writing? What is its goal? To better understand what technical writing is, we must explore its characteristics and its goals. First, the characteristics of effective technical writing is it must be direct, meaning it should have a clear purpose. It should be detailed, where it provides enough information to accomplish its purpose. It is structured in a way that makes sense to the reader and easy to follow. It is informative, where it teaches the audience about a certain subject. It is concise, where it explains the information in a way that is easily digestible. It is sequential, where each point is built upon as the writing progresses. And last but not least, it is accurate. It must provide correct information that is purposeful to the writing. Next, what are the goals of effective technical writing? First, it must address a specific audience. You must think critically about your intended audience to narrow down your focus. It provides accurate, relevant, and useful information. It helps solve a problem or complete a task, and it allows your audience to digest complex information. Next, we must consider when is technical writing used. There are many situations or writing forms that require technical writing. For the purpose of this workshop, we will focus on four main forms: instruction manuals, such as repair manuals or assembly manuals, end user documents, such as consumer products, that provide the user with information to understand a subject, technical documents, such as science or medical papers and research studies that teach the audience about a relevant topic or issue, and marketing copy, such as press releases and catalog copy. When writing technically, you should always consider the three following components: audience, knowing who you are writing to; your scope, knowing what you are communicating and to what extent or length you are writing; and concision, how to be clear and concise when executing your writing. These three considerations are important to think about before you start to draft your writing. This will help you stay more organized and focused. You should also always check throughout your writing to make sure you are addressing these three components. First, we will discuss audience. Your audience will help to determine your scope for writing. You must consider what is their content knowledge, as in, how much do they know about the topic? We must then ask, what do they need to know about this topic? And finally, what is their goal for reading? Considering these topics will help you to understand what should be written, as in what should be written about the topic, how much should be written about the topic, and how it should be structured for the audience to better understand it. Once you have determined your audience and what needs to be written to execute your scope, you must know your purpose. Your purpose is as simple as considering whether you are writing to inform or explain a topic, instruct, meaning directing someone towards completing a topic, persuading, meaning convincing someone of a topic, or evaluating, meaning analyzing a topic to illuminate its relevance. When you have decided your simple purpose, brainstorm what information will you discuss to achieve this purpose. Consider, for example, a chapter in one of your college textbooks. How does the author guide their reading to ensure they achieve their purpose? The author uses learning objectives created before they draft a chapter to not only guide their writing, but to help the student know what they will be learning. I have provided one of these as an example for your learning. The learning objectives in one of your chapters may start something like this. By the end of this chapter, the reader should be able to describe the components of a basic hydraulic system and its purposes, explain the application of Pascal's law in a fluid system, discuss the components of a basic pneumatic system and their purposes, list the purposes of hydraulic fluid, interpret basic fluid power symbols, compare and contrast hydraulic systems and pneumatic systems. Recall that a characteristic of technical writing is sequential. By breaking down your writing into subtopics or bullets, such as in the learning objectives, you ensure you can build upon each subtopic from the next to achieve your purpose, but to also draft your scope. To create a bulleted list like the ones we see in this chapter opening material of our college textbooks, we need to ask ourselves, what detail needs to be covered? Details can be thought about as simply as who, what, where, when, why, and how. Which of these details pertaining to your subject are most important? What kind of questions can we answer using these basic question stems? Let's practice this. What details should be considered if we are informing the general public about the man-made causes of greenhouse gases? Considering our general public may not be as knowledgeable as scientists researching the phenomena, maybe we first need to answer for our audience, what are greenhouse gases? What are the man-made causes that affect such gases? Why do these causes affect greenhouse gas emission? When does it occur? See how using these basic question stems help formulate our scope or to understand what we need to talk about. To further consider scope, we must ask ourselves next, how can I present my subject in a digestible format? This includes how to format your writing so it is visually digestible. Take a look at this paragraph of writing. You notice that it's very long and there is a lot of information. This type of paragraph becomes problematic for your audience to read, comprehend, and retain. Compare this example to the next. It is the same information, but broken up into two paragraphs, and the final section provides information in the form of a bulleted list. With shorter, more brief paragraphs, it allows the audience to digest the information presented before building upon it. There are also visual cues to emphasize key terms that are bolded and italicized. Considering audience, purpose, details, and format will help you to develop the scope of what you intend to write. Once you have worked out these pieces, we can start to write. To write effectively, we must practice concision. Concision means we must be clear, brief, and simple. First, we will focus on how to write clearly. Number 1, always remove or explain jargon used in your writing. Jargon is any word, phrase, or concept that is specific to a job field that an average person may not be aware of. The first example, there are many words and abbreviations used that are unknown to the average reader. Take a look for yourself. Only those in the specific field will be able to understand this language. To avoid confusion, instead, pare down your sentence to make it more readable by revising the jargon. Here, the sentence is revised for the average reader to understand. Some of the abbreviations, such as ESOC, is now defined as the Universal Service Ordering Code, where other abbreviations such as TIA/EIA are now removed. We have a more digestible sentence. Cable connections must use a standard 8-pin jack and follow the wiring pattern standards set by the Universal Service Ordering Code. The second example shows how you must write out an abbreviation before the abbreviation can be introduced and then used. Instead of saying LOTO in the first time it is introduced, use lockout tagout, then have the abbreviation follow the word in parentheses. In this, we also defined PPE by stating it as personal protective equipment rather than just stating PPE. Number 2, define uncommon words. Take a look at our first example. We start the sentence using HCFCs, have the potential to contribute to global warming when released into the atmosphere. How many people know what HCFCs are? How can we understand that they contribute to global warming if we do not know what they are? Instead of a sentence like this, let's first not only spell out what HCFCs are, but provide a clear definition of it so we understand that it is a refrigerant group made of several different molecules. Once we understand that it is a type of refrigerant, we can understand better how it may start to contribute to global warming when it is released into the atmosphere. In the second example, conduction is not only described in the revision, but an example of what conduction is added so the reader can better apply their knowledge to a real-world example. Number 3, Avoid generalities. Generalities will cause confusion to the reader and weaken your writing. In this example shown, we are unsure what it is referring to. Let me read it for you. A tornado is most likely to occur in the central part of the United States, known as the Great Plains. It has been studied to better determine why this occurs. So first of all, it may be describing the tornado as a phenomena or the Great Plains as the area. Which one is being studied? Also, we state to better determine why this occurs. What is this? What are we studying and why does it occur? To avoid this, we make our sentences clear. We state more specifically, a tornado is most likely to occur in the central part of the United States, known as the Great Plains. This area has been studied to better determine the geographical element that causes tornadoes to occur there each year. Notice how we not only defined what it was and this is, but we gave more precise information to the geographical element that causes tornadoes to occur every year. And we give a specific number, which is 500. Next, we will focus on using brief language to write. To write with brevity, you must know how to summarize and state key details. If we are pulling information from a study, we do not need to put a paragraph of information and put quotations at the beginning and end just to show that we cited specific information. We only need the key details stated in our own words for our audience to help them understand what we want to write about. Sometimes by taking out information from an article, and if it's more than a sentence or two, your audience may not know the key or main idea that you were trying to state. But by summarizing the main idea in your own words, using paraphrasing but still citing your source, that idea can become more clear. Take a look at this first example found from a study on pesticide use. Upon reading it, you may not know the main idea to take away from the quote. So instead, let's summarize the quote and put it in our own words. Next, consider how to eliminate unnecessary words. Remember, technical writing is complex as it is used to explain a technical subject. We do not need extra words that make us stray from our purpose or to cause any confusion. Consider the first sentence. How can we eliminate unnecessary words? You see from the revision, the revised sentence removes phrases such as, however, the main difference between, and like welding, that may be main takeaway. Instead, we can say something as clear and concise as, brazing applications also use oxyacetylene gas for cast iron or dissimilar metal repairs, but requires less extreme temperatures than welding. The next example, we have a long sentence that can be made more brief for better understanding. If I read you the sentence, or the start of a sentence, lubricants help to reduce friction by forming a film that separates opposing surfaces, which is created in different ways including. There's so much in there that you're not sure what to pull out from it. It can feel a little bit overwhelming. Instead, let's remove some of the unnecessary words and break this long sentence into two. Instead, we have, lubricants help to reduce friction by forming a film that separates opposing surfaces. This separation is created in many different ways. We will now look at how to write simply. Always state the most important information first. In the first example, we have a dependent clause, independent clause sentence structure. Typically, in a sentence structure such as this, our independent clause will be the most important statement of the two. In this case, what is more important? OSHA being formed or employees receiving a safe and healthy work environment? The correct revision would be either to flip the two clauses or to combine the two into one complete independent clause to make it a complete sentence, which is what I did for the revision. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, was formed to ensure employers provided a safe and healthful workplace. Notice how OSHA is also written out in full before the acronym or abbreviation follows in parentheses. The next example is about capacitance. It reads, capacitance is measured in farads, F. It is the number of electrons a capacitor can store for each volt applied. In this example, for the two sentences to be more sequential and relational, they should be flipped. In the revised sample, we first define what capacitance is, and then we discuss its measurement, which is very similar to how you would see it in one of your college textbooks. Next, use appropriate word choice. Remember, more often than not, less is more. Sometimes the simpler words are more effective than those that we think sound more intelligent or complex. In the first example, the utilization of blueprints provides accurate communication between an architect and contractor. Now, there's nothing too wrong with this sentence. It is pretty brief, it gets to the point, and we understand what we're trying to say. However, do we really need to use the word utilization when we can use one as simple with a clear definition as the use of blueprints? This helps the reader not only better understand what you're saying, but not feel like they're fumbling over a large word such as utilization in a sentence that wants to be clear, brief, and to the point. The next example reads, "The lack of rain in California facilitates frequent forest fires." Now the phrase, "the lack of rain," not only sounds wordy, but there is also a single word to describe this event, a drought. Also, droughts do not facilitate forest fires, but rather cause them to occur, which is why we state a more simple sentence. The drought in California causes frequent forest fires to occur. Not only that, but we remove a little bit of alliteration of the constant F sound that kind of threw us off initially. Finally, it is important to be aware of using proper grammar and language to ensure your writing is simple and clear. When writing technically, it is often recommended to avoid any adverbs and adjectives. Recall that adverbs describe the verb of a sentence, while an adjective describes the noun. We can change "Scientists have endlessly sought for the cure of cancer" to "Scientists continue to search for the cure." Also, remove needless words. This includes basic colloquialisms that we use in everyday speech that make us sound too casual. "There is no proof at the present time" can be changed to "There is no proof at present." The basic fundamentals of replacing an engine are as follows. We can remove basic, since basic and fundamentals fundamentally mean the same thing. And rather than using an adverb, when we say the results are completely sound, we can remove completely to just state simply the results are sound. Finally, use active voice. Remember, active voice requires that the subject of the sentence is doing the action upon something. It avoids all to-be statements. Rather than "a digital micrometer is to be used when a very high level of accuracy is needed," we can say, "Use a digital micrometer to measure with a high level of accuracy." In this sentence, we use the unstated "you" or the general reader as the one who is doing the action, which is why we start with the verb, implying it is the reader to be doing this action. This is very common in instructional manuals or user guides. Now that we have reviewed the basics of technical writing, let's see if we can put it into practice. Take a look at this writing example pulled from a student on print reading. Keep in mind your audience, scope, and all the tips we reviewed on how to write clearly, briefly, and simply. Remember, there is no right or wrong way to edit technically, but each revision you make will help your writing to be more or less effective. Once you have spent some time taking a look at this and brainstorming how you could make it better, I have also provided an example of how I took the example, revised it, and made it a little bit more clear and easy to read. You can view this in your own time and see if you can draw any conclusions between what you would do and what we did here as an example. Thank you again for listening to the Effective Technical Writing provided by the Writing, Reading, Speech Assistance area in the Learning Commons of College of DuPage. Thank you for your time.